everybody, it's Amy from Winterwood Studio, and it is a rainy, gloomy day out there, and I thought it would be the perfect day to make a nice cup of coffee and sit down with my Mungyo gallery oil pastels and swatch them all out and draw something with them. So come on in and let's create something. Okay, so I'm going to start by swatching all of these on my paper just to see what colors they look like. I like to do that. I think I should be able to keep it right in the cover of this box. And I will speed that up and put a little music to it, I think, unless I have thoughts that I want to do as a voiceover. So this is up on my Patreon as a real-time tutorial, the drawing that I'm going to do. If you want to go and check it out over there, everything's only $4 a month for the whole tier, including the creativity journaling and art journaling and reference photos and the sketchbook club prompts. So if you want to check that out, I will have that linked down below. And this was a really, really fun drawing to do. And I think there's definitely going to be some more oil pastel tutorials coming because it was so much fun. Even just swatching these, they're so creamy and beautiful and opaque, and they blended so beautifully. Well, I can tell you right now, these are going to be addictive to work with. It felt like being a kid again and like using crayons, except that they go down so creamy and so smooth, and the colors are so vibrant. It was pure joy, pure bliss. That was so much fun. I think now over on this side, I'm maybe going to try a little layering and blending and see what happens. So what if I take a dark pink and then I take a light pink? Can I put that over that? Not really. Well, somewhat. And then what if we wanted to do a gradient? What happens there? I think this is the same pink I was using. I imagine too it depends on how translucent each color is. So that's pretty. All right, what if we wanted to do a sky gradient with blue to blue, to a darker blue, and what if I wanted to put some white clouds in? That's pretty. What if I put a white one here? Okay, now what if we blend the rest? Ooh, these are so much fun. So much fun! These are so fun. Yeah.
Is my shirt backwards?
I don't think so. Do you want to sneak a hand in here and try it?
It's supposed to be in the back.
Yeah. Do you want to sneak a hand in here and try it? My son is going to sneak his hand in here and try a color and see what he thinks. Do you like that? He's nodding yes. Doesn't it feel smooth and creamy and like the best crayon ever? He's nodding yes again, and the dog came in and is now crying behind us and knocked over my garbage can. Fun, huh? Fun? Yeah, you'll have to wash your hands. You just noticed how messy his hands were. Go wash your hands, hon. Oh, these are so much fun. I'm so glad I got these. They're so creamy and smooth. This is so much fun. Ugh, the dog needs to go for a walk, I think. Okay, well, I think I am going to take the dog for a walk while I think about what I would like to try drawing with these. I don't know if I should try to do a portrait or a landscape. I'd like to do a portrait, but I really haven't used these very much, so it might go horribly wrong. But things have gone horribly wrong on this channel before, and it hasn't screwed things up too bad, so maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, I'm gonna take the dog for a walk, and then when I get back, I'll figure out what I'm doing, and we will film it. Okay, so I decided to sketch out my drawing on this bluey gray color from the back of the Strathmore pastel paper. I was thinking about trying the UArt because I thought maybe I might need it for blending layers like I would with soft pastel, but I decided to try it on this and see what happens. Hopefully it's not a disaster. And I have some paper towels for wiping my fingers because I'm going to be blending with my fingers. And I may at some point get some rubbing alcohol to dab on my fingers too. We'll see how messy it gets. So let's get started. And a scrap piece of paper for testing colors. Okay, so I'm going to try to just block in some background colors first. So we'll start with that. I don't know what colors or anything I'm using. I don't even know how do they do these. 217, 265. Those must be the colors then. So I used 265 and 217 to start. And 264. And I've said it before, this is really one of my first times using oil pastels. I've used the Pentel ones, and I can drop those links down below if you are interested in seeing them. I think twice. I have 2 videos for those. But this is my first time using the Mungyos, and I'm going to see right away now how because I don't want to build up too much of a layer to start. This is blending pretty good. So far I'm not regretting not using the UArt. The thing with the UArt is it can be, did I do this one already? This is 217. It can be really rough on your fingers, and I love it for soft pastels, but after a while it does really start to abrade your fingers, and I just didn't feel like dealing with that today. So I decided to do this much like I would do a soft pastel. So this is basically how I would work with a soft pastel, and I don't know if that's the right technique or not, but that's how I'm doing it today. I just wanted to see if it would work like that. So right now I'm just doing like an underlayer. I'm hoping this is just going to be the underlayer. In soft pastels I would do an underlayer with harder pastels, and then do the soft pastels for the final details and the punch of color over that. I, like I said, don't really know what I'm doing with oil pastels, so we'll see what happens here. I think we'll do this color down here, test it here first. That might be a little dark. I simplified this drawing quite a bit from what was the photo. I took out all the doodads over there, and there was a road going down the middle, and some boats over in here, and I came in a little bit closer when I picked the way I was going to draw this. So this isn't exactly the photo as it was. I messed with it a little bit.
So like you heard me just say there, I basically treated these like they were soft pastels. I did the layers like I would with soft pastels. I blended with my fingers the way I would with soft pastels, and it worked great. In the end, I was really happy with how this turned out, so I don't see any reason to change my technique for the next one that I do. I don't know if that's the correct technique or not, but it worked really, really well for me, and that's how I plan to work with oil pastels from here on out. They blended so beautifully, and they worked great on this paper even.
I am really enjoying these. This is like soft pastel, but better. I don't think I've talked about it on my YouTube channel before. I have asthma along with everything else, and it's fine if I'm not having a flare. I can use soft pastels, no problem. But when I'm having an asthma flare, which is usually like if I'm sick or something, it makes it, I have asthma attacks from the powder, even when I have like my HEPA filter going next to me, and I'm really careful not to blow it and all of that. And in fact, that's why I ended up stopping using the soft pastels this winter, because like we had so many colds and I kept getting sick and I started to have really a lot of trouble breathing. And that's not, I'm not saying it's the soft pastels. I have that trouble with all sorts of stuff. If I'm already sick and having asthma, like if my husband vacuums, even with our HEPA filter vacuum, it will bother me. Let's add a little of this yellow over in here and blend it in. So this is like soft pastels without any asthma problems. I think these are going to be something I'm using a lot this winter, this coming winter. It's summer now, obviously, but I'm really enjoying this so far. This is definitely something I'm going to want to do more of. It feels fun and free and relaxing, which is all things I'm looking for right now. Just tapping that back like I would with a...
So here I'm just putting in some of the clouds, and you saw the paper towel there a second ago. I'm making sure to clean off the tips of the oil pastels in between colors so I don't contaminate colors and get like some yellow on the end of a blue and end up making green, which I did do a couple times. And I'm just building up the cloud with layers. I decided to, instead of doing a bottom layer for the whole piece, I decided to work in one area doing multiple layers until I felt that area was close to being done before I moved on to the next one. I don't know if that's how most people work with oil pastels or not, but that's just how I ended up working. Also, somewhere along here, my horizon line got kind of wonky and started to dip down on the right side, which you'll see me fix later on near the end of the video. And actually, I decided to use a Prismacolor colored pencil and a ruler to draw in that horizon line and then make it a little bit bumpy to make it look like, like there's some islands or the shoreline on the other side or whatever. And I actually really liked that technique. The Prismacolor went over it just fine. And it added some fine details that I wouldn't have been able to get otherwise. And I think I'll definitely be trying that again in the future as well, using a mix of a few colored pencils for details. Part of the reason I ended up not doing a portrait was because I was worried about getting the details of the eyes and the nostrils and, any little small detail of the face with these big chunky oil pastels. And I actually think that maybe next time I could do the eyes with the colored pencil and then do the oil pastel around it. I don't know if anybody has done that before or if they have any experience mixing colored pencils and oil pastels. But if you do, let me know how that turned out for you, and please drop that in the comments as well. What I did end up doing for the details is taking a blending stump and like rubbing it on the end of the oil pastel to get the oil pastel just on the tip of the stump, and then using that to put in the details. And that worked all right. I did that a lot, especially on the boat and the oars near the end of the video. It worked all right, but maybe next time I might want to try the colored pencils. So like I said, this is my very first time using the Mungyo oil pastels, and I've used the Pentel oil pastels before. Those are the only other ones I've used other than these. And the Pastels were a totally different animal than these. So I was sort of figuring things out as I went, especially like the blending was totally different. I had so much trouble blending the Pastels. I ended up having to use odorless mineral spirits to blend them because they were so hard and dry. Here I'm just cleaning my hands with some rubbing alcohol. I'm not using it in the piece. Here you can see me doing some of that technique with the, well, actually I think I'm just blending with the blending stump. But the clouds, I think I put in with some of the purple on the tip. But again, you'll see me do that a whole lot on the boat. There I was just using a little sandpaper pad to clean the blending stump in between colors and also resharpen it to a nice point. If you don't have one of those little sandpaper pad things, I highly recommend them. There'll be the little pack I got down in the link below. It was like the blending stumps and the sandpaper pad and a pencil extender and a bunch of stuff. And it was like $7. The sandpaper pad I also use for sharpening my colored pencils to a fine point so that I'm not constantly using like a regular pencil sharpener and losing a bunch of my pencil. So if you haven't tried that, I recommend that as well. And I know this isn't a colored pencil video, but say the tip when I think of it, I guess. So now I'm working on the water, and I went in with a bunch of really light colors, and actually I realized later that they're too light, and you'll see me go back and darken everything up multiple times. The darkest dark in this photo was the shadow of the boat, and I probably should have put it in sooner, but I was worried about smearing it into the other colors. And once the darkest dark did go in, I realized like nothing else was dark enough, which is one of the I usually like to do the lightest light and the darkest dark, and that's called like keying your painting. And once you have that key, everything needs to fall in between that. And once I had that darkest dark in, I realized a whole lot of the other stuff was off. So I actually had to go back in and darken things up quite a bit. Here I'm starting to put the shadow of the boat in. And in a minute, you're going to see me realize that I made a mistake with how dark the lake water is. So in the shadow of the boat and the lake water that I had to darken up, I did end up doing so many layers that it started to feel like it wasn't going to accept any more layers. I probably could have gotten away with doing some oilless or odorless mineral spirits on this paper. And in case you don't know, one of the reasons for using odorless mineral spirits isn't just to blend the pigments, but also it sort of dissolves some of the wax in the pigments, or oil in this case. And so that sort of soaks away into the paper and into the fibers, and it leaves the surface of the paper a little less waxy or oily. So you're able to add more layers of color on top. So that works for anything that has a wax or oil base. So colored pencils, oil pastels, anything like that. It would probably work for the Neo Color 2s, although I think those are water soluble. They are water soluble, so maybe not for them. So if I really had wanted to, I could have done some odorless mineral spirits here on the shadow of the boat in the lake and got some more layers, but I liked how it turned out. I don't think that was actually super necessary. So I also think I made the shadow of the boat, like it was a mix of the shadow and the reflection of the boat, and there were these weird, it was like the main dark triangle behind the boat, and then a light stripe on each side, and then a darker stripe, and that light stripe, I think, was sort of the reflection of the boat. I'm not sure, but I made it too blue, so I ended up having to fix that as well. And here you can see me really darkening up the water here because I realized it was not dark enough. But these were just so easy to use. I put layer over layer, and I could layer light over dark and dark over light, and it didn't matter, and it was just fun and beautiful. And I felt a little bit like a kid again playing with crayons or something. I mean, it was really relaxing and enjoyable for me. And I definitely will be doing more oil pastels this summer. And I do think partially it was the Mungyo oil pastels. I mean, they were just really, really nice to use. Way better than the Pastels. The Pastels I struggled with, and it was one of those cases of, oh, maybe I just don't like oil pastels. I don't think it was. I think it was the material. I think they were just too hard and crumbly, and they didn't blend, and it made everything a struggle. Whereas here, it was just a delight from beginning to end, and I really, really enjoyed it. And of course, as soon as I finish this, like, I really want to try doing a portrait with these. I think it would be so much fun. So that's probably something that's going to be coming pretty soon here on the channel because I really want to try it. But I also will say that as my channel has continued to grow, I've been starting to have people approaching me and asking me to try their supplies. So I actually have several videos coming with supplies people sent me to try, and I'm really excited about them. So those will be coming up soon on the channel. How many are there? 1, 2, there's a lot. Like 4, maybe 5 of supplies I get to try. So those will be fun, and I do need to, I feel some obligation to get those up as quick as I can. So a few of those are going to have to go up before I can do another oil pastel video. But there definitely will be more oil pastel videos coming, and especially a portrait because I really want to try that. And I'd also really like to try this with like some animals. You know, I'm sure if you follow me for a while, you know, I really like to do animals like foxes and owls and coyotes and cougars. I'm trying to think of some of the snowshoe hares, some of the animals I've done. I'd like to try these with that and see how that would work. I am not sure with like fur textures and feather textures how that would work, but I mean, I won't know how it would work until I try it. So if you've ever done any animals with oil pastels, that's another thing I'd like to hear about down in the comments below. So if you have any experience with that, let me know. The oars on this boat did end up getting a little bit bigger than I wanted them to be. It was just, everything was so chunky, and then I had to blend it. So that was one thing that I wasn't super happy about in this finished piece, was the oars ended up getting too big. My dog is sitting here now making funny noises, so if you hear her, that's just her. But overall, like I said, this was just fun from beginning to end, and I had so much fun, and I really enjoyed it. And if you haven't tried oil pastels, I definitely recommend that you go get some. It was like art therapy for me. Oh, here's where I was talking about. I'm going to put the shoreline in with this, I think it was a cold gray 90% Prismacolor. It's worked great. You'll see it. Sorry for my head popping in and out there. I couldn't see where the ruler was, so, you know, sorry. But there you can see I'm putting in some of the bumpy land, and it just worked so well. I definitely am going to try that again, too.
There, I think that's done. Alrighty, let's do there's the periwinkle blue I was looking for. Oh well. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna go wash my hands, and then I'll come back and we'll do the tape peel. Okay, so since this is the Strathmore pastel paper, I'm not sure how this tape is gonna peel off it, so I'm gonna hit each edge with my hairdryer for about 10 seconds before I pull that side off. So there's my finished oil pastel painting of a boat. I hope everybody really liked it. If you want to follow along with the real-time tutorial, it is up on my Patreon now. Everything's only $4 for the whole tier, and we'd love to see you over there. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button yet, I would very much appreciate it if you would. That helps push me higher in the YouTube algorithm so more people get to see my content, and it helps support my channel. Until next time, happy creating!